Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Cleaning up as usual while I'm making the video instead of before. Today we're talking about this. This is the flylens 85 HD light. Oh, that's cool. I got some new settings on my phone, and as I'm recording, it's showing me kind of like how a plane does. It has that line that moves back and forth, so it's telling me if I'm shooting level or not. That's pretty cool. Anyway, I've had this 2 weeks or so, and I've flown it quite a bit and have spent some considerable time tuning this. Let me grab some. Where is it here? I bought the DJI-03. Well, it comes with the DJI-03, and I opted to go using the DJI receiver, and it's been a struggle, sort of speak, I guess. This has wicked short gimbals. Not used to that. I fly Spectrum. I've got that monster controller there, and I've gotten really used to having that stick resolution and precision in my flights. It flies good, especially if you're doing freestyle stuff and not trying to squeeze through tiny gaps, and a bando recovery would be an absolute nightmare. Then you're good. It's fast. It's got plenty of power. 2S. I have a couple 720, 850s, and I've got 2,000 milliamp LiPo holders and batteries. They come on and off easy. They are sort of fragile. My first mod that I did / recommendation, I don't have any of the batteries handy. Getting this thing into place, there's two kind of slots which you can't see, but you need to go to the back slot because of the size of this compared to the smaller one where it hits the USB. If you were to crash or hit that battery, it would hit and damage. So I highly recommend, yeah, you could run it there if you wanted to, but I highly recommend pushing it back so that way you have the room. But what I did first is, before I even put this on there, I tried to slide the battery into this 3D printed pain in the ass, and it is uber freaking tight. And I could see how you trying to pressurize and push this thing on, and then your hands slip off and the quad could go flying, and that could be an effing nightmare. So what I did was I slid it on to where I wanted it, made sure it was center, and then I took a trusty lighter, and then I just went around it a couple times and let it sit and cool off, and then I did it again. And now the battery just slides onto there with just a hint of friction and force, enough to keep it into place even during a crash, because I did test it. And now you don't have to fight with it crazy. And I also did that to the 720 battery, or 750, whatever the hell it is. I don't have it with me. And it works great. So I highly recommend doing that so you don't have to mess with. I have different color props versus the bi-blades that it comes with. Actually, I think I got 3 different colors. The OG Smoke, picked up another brighter blue, sort of this color, and then these. Make sure you've got nothing, especially if you fly in a place like in my basement doing a lot of testing where there's cobwebs and other things that get caught up and wound inside here. It will piss them off, and it will create vibrations. So make sure your props are in great shape and all of those are cobweb and whatnot free. The biggest and most important thing that I've done to this thing so far, which I'm surprised they didn't do originally, and maybe this is, so like I said, this comes with the 03 light, which is a naked, completely stripped down camera, and there's nothing around it, and it has a custom lens. It's a ND filter? No, a UV. And this 3D printed thing, which I've modified and shaved down on the side so it doesn't touch the grommets. So I was experiencing a little bit of vibration because this thing was touching that. So I shaved them down and made a gap. But if you look underneath there, you see the wire from the camera that goes to the air unit. This thing here, as I turn this mount here sits on these 3 tiny little isolators, and the mount point comes down. The little plate that it's on came down, and that lowered the camera down very close to the prop guards, but it made that wire sit with tension no matter what I did up against the frame, and I truly believe that created vibration, because no matter what you do, you just got this little plastic, it's attached to it and vibrating off of the props no matter what. So I got some phenomenal footage that I kind of was unhappy with and discarded a bunch of it because I did not like the vibrations. See, buzz. So I cleaned off from earlier. So I didn't want anybody else to kind of run into that problem. So like I said, what I did, and it was a pain in the ass. If you don't got some patience, don't have any caffeine, to unpop, you have to push the head of these out from the sides, take them out, flip it over, and then try to figure out how. It's easy to attach to one side, either the base or the mount, but then try to get it back to. I chose to do the mount first and then try to get them onto the carbon plate. It took about 15 minutes and definitely frustrating if you have the right tools. So I was using, which I put away, my favorite tool in the whole world. I was using this to kind of line it up and then very gently push it through. So part of the skinny part and then where it extended got pushed into the hole, and then, not the right one. I was using this to push it through without the sharp edge. And that got me down through the hole, and there you go. Like I said, definitely was a challenge, but it made the world of difference. No more vibrations. I'm very happy. And it's been raining here for 3 days straight or so, so the only flights I've been able to do was in the basement. I did it as bright as I could in the basement to simulate the brightest light that I could. I know in sunlight you might get micro vibrations, and I may switch over to an ND filter. We'll see. Trying to get the settings down. I got to match the ones in the Avata. Oh, so we'll go back. Anyway, but I'm happy. Tuning wise, I know a couple people have asked about tuning for this. It flew good right out of the box, but I kind of do my patent pending, there's no patent, my go-to for making it feel locked in. Mind you, pick the battery that you want to fly with the most to do this to, because it does affect it. I did it with the 720s because I didn't have the 1000 milliamp, and it's about the same. I may have to tweak it a little bit more, but I upped my eye gain a couple points in my PIDs, and then to get this thing to fly like creep small movements, I've had to do a lot of changing to the throttle curve because, again, of how short this thing is. I've got I got like a 50% Expo right now, and then the midpoint is down to like 20%, so it's a slow curve. So this thing, again, every movement you make here is amplified compared to a standard controller because you have a lot more room to grow. So I wanted to know this, so every little movement that I make, and I've got this thing with a decent amount of tension, so you feel the force of it when you're fighting it, so it's not flopping free. Changed the throttle curve in some Expo on pitch, so that way, because as soon as you get up in the air, it just wants to take off and fly like a free bird. It's incredible. It's fast and agile, but for what I want to do to this, I want the ability to be able to wiggle my way through places that I don't want to crash. And on that ADD funny moment, one of these bandos that we flew recently, it looked like they were trying to convert this place over and maybe do apartments with it before they realized that the place was not doable. But the floor we're on, they cut out this huge section all the way up to the wall. So it was, 25, 30-foot drop to the floor below. So it was this big open kind of foyer, like when you'd walk into a huge fancy hotel, how you could see the second floor, but you're looking up and it's all cut out around you. That's what they looked like they were trying to do to this place. And I flew past one of the guys I was with, and I flew out over it, and then there was a light, an old school light, like the tube. I don't know what those things are called, just the bulbs, the long tubey bulbs. I went to fly and just skim over it, and I bumped the bottom of it with the air unit on here, and the quad just went like this, so it stuck like this. And because I didn't change my arm, what do you call that? If you set the setting right, I forgot what it's called, your arming angle. it was set basically stock, so unless it was sitting like this, it wouldn't arm, and it was sitting like this. I had grabbed like a 10-foot long piece of wood and I couldn't reach the actual light post hanging thing there, and then I took a chance and I just kind of lobbed it and twisted it so it hit the top of the light and then skimmed across and actually hit this, and it fell to the ground, and it fell quite a damn distance. It was scary. This thing survived, not even a scratch on it. The lens cover that's just kind of pressed on didn't even pop off. All was good. Battery was still in its place. I got situated, calmed myself down, and then I went back to flying with it right from where it was. So it's a robust little quad. I did pick up some parts, so I do have some extra of these coming in, the prop thing. Some extra of the battery, and I forget there was one other part that I picked up. So just in case, and this thing just comes off with 4 whatchamajiggies here. That's a very technical word, by the way. Little Allen keys that hold the thing on, and I've messed with it because I wanted to rerun the wire for the 03 air unit, but I think I covered what I wanted to cover. Like I said, tuning, depending on what you're going to do, if you're using this controller, nobody's done a video on it. I may do another video if there's any interest on how crazy my throttle curve was in Expo and stuff like that. And I think with this setup, it's needed. I wish DJI would come out with a controller that allowed you to do some stuff within. That would be cool, like that. But we'll see. But I've got it flying the way that I think is perfect, and I'm going to do some more test flying today. And then I'm going to try to get out this week, and I think finally the rain will stop Saturday, and see if I can get it outside. And the swing set behind my backyard is a perfect test ground, like a fake bando with little tiny gaps through stairs, the gap through the twisty slide and stuff like that. So I'll test it out outside. So I hope this helps. I highly recommend a couple of these things. Oh, and then one more. The little antennas were pushed down all the way. With antennas, and especially analog, the higher you get the antenna, the better. So I pulled these up as high as I could comfortably get them, and leaving still a little bit of slack in here so they're not taut. And then there's a zip tie around this, so it holds it in place, but it's got plenty of flex. This one's all kind of warped out, but I heated up the 3D printed piece and actually had them angled down a little bit just to stretch them out and keep a low profile. So with the battery on, nothing is higher than the battery. So they're all kind of the same plane. So when you're shooting tiny little dinky gaps, you know exactly where you're at. And that worked good. The distance that I've been able to fly inside the bando, with walls and brick and all kinds of crazy shit between me, this thing, it's phenomenal. A miniature version of the Avata without all the pain in the ass sensors that kind of hold you back. So I just got to adapt myself a little bit, like I said, to this controller and getting used to the resolution in those sticks and whatnot. But if you have any questions, hit me up. I hope it helps. I highly recommend doing if you got the patience and skill. And again, it looks cool still. Oh, and I swapped out the LED. I came with the blue and I did the green. Anybody that tells you that's a super easy, fast, quick thing to change out, it's not. If the one that they put in factory, they pulled the double-sided tape, you know, the thing off it, so it's attached in here. It'll come out for sure, but it was a pain in the butt, and you got to be fragile if you're trying to keep it from breaking. And then once you pull the backing off that tape and then start running this thing in, again, a good tool to have is something like this, where it's not a pointy tip. This thing's dirty, so you can kind of help push it in along the way, and then same thing with the nail, just kind of run the nail along to get it up in there. But it was not a quick thing. Honestly, what would be quicker if you wanted to do multiple colors would be to have a replacement one of these with the LED in it, so you could just swap 4 bolts and a little plug, and then you can move on your way. So that's what I might do with the extra one. We'll see. And I wish some of these companies, because this one, like I said, it's all green. If you wanted to use this as, you know, an explorer, like I want to, and I'm going to attempt this, I think, because these LEDs are cuttable every section, take and do either the entire front bubble white or just get it to about here. And it's either way, creating a headlight with this, so when you're in some darker areas, you'll have natural light coming off of this that would help you in a location. Since I raised this thing up the way that I have, I'm not getting any reflection in green in the camera lens like I did before, because it's a little bit farther away. So there's no light, I think, coming back from behind and getting in here. So if you're getting that refraction, and I haven't tried it again with any of the other ND filters that they come out with, and like I said, I think I want to get an ND8 for this thing. That's one of the biggest pain in the asses is with a lot of bando and deep woods flying that we do. If there's a lot of sun out that day and it's coming into the woods, getting the settings for this thing is such a pain in the ass. I've been leaving it on manual and doing some tricks with editing and coloring for some of the transitions and stuff, and bandos is tough because the opens up kind of like your eye to absorb all the light in the, you know, mildly lit bando, but then if there's parts of it that are broken or the roof is exposed, and then you have that crazy saturation of light and it just blinds out, overdoes it, and it's a pain in the ass. So I haven't found a happy middle. That's something that I want to learn, is figuring out settings and shutter speeds and stuff like that, and set it. I'd love to be able to set it so it's one flat, so there's no change, kind of like your eye going from inside to outside, which that's the way it's set with automatic right now. But on that note, again, I'm gonna try again. Any other questions? If you've done this mod already, let me know. If you're interested in it, let me know, because I think it'll help a lot and eliminate some of those micro vibrations that these tiny little guys get. But as a whole, this thing is absolutely amazing, and I highly recommend gyro flow with this. I fly the Avata in horizon lock because I like that cinematic shot. I don't like the horizon to move depending on the shots. You know, certain quad moves, you want the angle to move. It's flow, hence its name. So what I did was, versus the Avata, I turned off the electric stabilization and I downloaded gyro flow. So if I want a perfect shot with a perfect horizon, I can do that to the shot, the clip, or just leave it with their stabilization that allows that, and it really knows that roll movement that I can't stand and still gives you a really smooth flow. Giggity. So check out gyro flow too. Again, any questions, hit me up. I hope you guys appreciate this and it helps somebody else out there. Let me know what you think.